Greece
This is Sparta!
versus Rome.
Thank you all for coming. They might not think I'm crazy.
Axis versus Ally.
Partners, not ally.
PlayStation
So here's this giant enemy crab.
versus Xbox.
Happy Easter, Xbox.
Since prehistoric times, we have always been drawn to one thing: combat. Red versus blue, Tom versus Jerry. It's in our very nature. It was said before we even existed, the Big Bang was the first ever recorded cast of Ultima. What the hell am I smoking, bro? Anyway, segueing from whatever that was.
What the hell is even that?
I love RPGs. Ever since I was young and was given my brother's Game Boy Color and Pokemon Yellow as a hand-me-down, as well as some random hacked Pokemon Green cartridge that I still owe to this day, and was definitely handed to my dad at the back of an alley.
Looks like good stuff, but of course, I'll have to sample it first.
I have loved turn-based RPGs. They give another layer of strategy to combat and allows you to think and have full control of you and your party. So any mistake you make is yours and yours alone to bear, rather than some fucker named Donald never casting Curaga.
Death to all of them.
I want to talk about RPGs today. Specifically, turn-based RPGs. Specifically, turn-based combat, baby. So yeah, I'm just going to do a brief rundown of how RPG games got to this point, and why I personally think it's not what it used to be. It's definitely my favourite genre, so I'm gonna be a bit more critical of it than any other genre of games I play. Let's get started then. 1974. Dungeons & Dragons, previously inspired by chainmail, yes you heard that right,
Hi, how are you?
was created. Arguably one of the most influential fantasy things of all time, it grew to inspire many gamers, nerds, and nice guys around.
Nice.
This created the spark needed for new and creative RPGs to flourish, with 1981's Ultima, said to be one of the very first open-world RPGs, spawning so many sequels. We're talking about Ultima 2, Ultima 3, Ultima IV, Ultima V, Ultima VI, Ultima VII, Ultima VIII Part 2.
Are you sure about that?
Ultima VIII, Ultima IX, and finally ending with Ultima Waifu Battle. The best one.
I mean, she's pretty good, to be fair.
This game just paved the way for so many amazing and creative RPGs to be made. Not just in the West, but Japan, which said, I don't fuck with you.
Fuck you guys, I'm doing weirdo shit now.
And created new and innovative styles of RPGs, which greatly differed from the type of game design that Western developers favored. Whilst Western developers took big influence in dark fantasy games, like Baldur's Gate, Diablo, and Warcraft, while sometimes even straying away from the fantasy angle of RPGs, with post-apocalyptic settings of Fallout, and sci-fi settings like Mass Effect or Knights of the Old Republic. Japanese developers, on the other hand, definitely liked traditional fantasy stories, with games such as Dragon Quest, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy, mostly. I'm not saying any of them were better or worse from each other, just different. I can talk so much about the finer details of RPG history, but I don't wanna. Last I checked, I'm not making a history of video games, however messy and unorganized the whole structure of my video is.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
But the point is, you can definitely see the difference in the trend of where Western developers have taken their RPGs, and their games in general, and where Japanese developers have taken their games. Western development of games have definitely strayed from turn-based games, from changing Fallout from turn-based to definitely shooter with questionably scarce RPG elements mixed in. Western RPGs that I definitely love, like The Witcher 3, Mass Effect, Elder Scrolls, Dragon Age, all these games are all action RPGs with virtually no turn-based strategy within. Yeah, BioWare games have some strategy with the way you position companions and different synergies of skills, but that's completely different, to me at least. On the other side of the world, Japanese games have a definite healthy mix of turn-based to action RPG, but are slowly trending its more popular IPs to action.
Why are you running?
Final Fantasy, for one, not having a true turn-based game since FF10 more than 20 years ago. Not you. Not you! Go away!
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would.
Even Dragon Quest, a franchise that has stayed turn-based for almost 40 years, can potentially change, showing that, yeah, turn-based games for big-budget AAA companies are definitely not what it used to be. So the big question is why, right? Well, I can think of 3 main reasons. 1. Money and commitment. Companies like EA, Bethesda, and even proud Japanese RPG monoliths like Square Enix have a bigger focus on catching on the latest trend and profits, rather than put money and time into a well-made game. I mean, Jedi Survivor is like one of the only EA games that was good recently, and that was a single-player RPG. Or when was the last time Bethesda put out a good game? That was the 50th port of Skyrim, huh? Even Square Enix chucked their turn-based games onto lesser studios, or don't put much funding into these games, as you can see from the marketing of Triangle Strategy, Bravely Default, Octopath Traveler. All these games are shells of what Square Enix used to push back in the 90s. Now all they do is promote some shitty NFT model, or make some of the worst business decisions in the world. 2. Live service models and the age of macro transactions. This kinda ties to the money thing, as publishers like Take-Two and Epic are not at all interested in making a good RPG, or even a single-player game, because it doesn't fit with the business model, or exploiting impressionable young kids of course. Battle passes, loot boxes, and a constantly updating live service game doesn't really work with single-player story-driven RPGs, as it would with multiplayer battle royales like Fortnite, so this kind of game would rarely be considered by these platforms. And even if they did, and try and incorporate a live service microtransaction riddle system into an RPG, we know the effects of that experiment. Number 3. Audience. Okay, stop me if you've heard this one before. I don't like turn-based RPGs because they're grindy, monotonous, and boring. How often have you heard something like that? Yes, I agree, for some games, they take some time to get going, or have some stupid grind that forces you to kill the same type of enemy for 2 hours. That can definitely put people off. But what if I told you they were wrong? Most of the best turn-based games know how to space out fights with challenging and strategic encounters that make you think and make you believe that you're friggin' Albert Einstein himself. Games such as Chrono Trigger, Undertale, and Divinity Original Sin 2 have systems that don't need grinding and can let you play how you want to play the game, with so many unique choices that are not even to do with combat itself. This is what makes turn-based games so amazing. The freedom and strategy to do exactly what you want, and can showcase much more complex mechanics that action RPGs only dream of replicating. I love fast-paced action games. Don't get me wrong, the Souls games, God of War, Nioh, Monster Hunter, and Tales of Arise are just a few games that I love. But turn-based games are another genre of games to me that can show a different side to RPGs, and are something most modern audiences never even give a chance to try and experience. But of course, most of the gaming community wouldn't give a shit about what I just said.
Shut up! Shut up!
Most of them like fast-paced, flashy, and sometimes just as monotonous combat that tricks their brain into thinking they're doing more than pressing the X button for 5 minutes straight. But of course people love that kind of game, so it shows what I know, I guess. I understand that, okay, this is definitely a negative perspective on turn-based games, and the wider gaming industry as a whole. Honestly, after all this time, there's still so much amazing representation for turn-based RPGs that both Western and Eastern developers have created, and that have made it to my top 5 favorite games of all time. Like, Persona's always amazing as usual. I've recently gone into and love the Trail series, mostly. And Larian are just pumping out bangers with Baldur's Gate 3. Okay, pausing my run over here. I get what you're gonna say. I barely addressed role-playing games as a whole yet. And sure, I haven't really talked much about it outside of just gushing about some turn-based games. But fuck you, it's my video. Joking aside, I think we take turn-based games for granted. This is why I've been talking about them so much, rather than discussing role-playing games on a wider level. Because everyone talks about the most popular action RPGs when we hear the word role-playing games. Most videos on this website barely acknowledge them. Not many people give these types of games a chance.
But you know what I hate much more than anime? Turn-based combat. For real, I despise this shit.
I understand. Turn-based games are annoying sometimes, and are not as flashy and engaging as all these bangers. But I don't know. I think they deserve more recognition, and have the capacity to be enjoyed by a wider audience. I mean, dude, if chess can take over the streaming world, it actually being the first turn-based game ever created, why don't people play a game like chess, but with anime waifus and big titties? So to end my clearly unbiased video, I just want to share some stuff that I love about RPGs, and stuff that makes me want to turn on a controller and just scream. Like before, I'd like to split this up into categories. 1. UX, or what's in the game. 2. Companions in RPGs, or the real reason I can't get friends in life. 3. Thinking about my life, the sequel, prequel, and sequel. And 4. Swiping on Grindr, double time, baby. UI, especially in a video game, is really important to me. Like yeah, if the UI gargles balls, I'm still gonna play it if everything else is fun, but it can really put me off in a game. Turn-based RPGs, due to its strategic nature, can have a lot of interesting and unique combat systems, but it can go so wrong if it's not explained or shown well. Like, what the fuck is this?
What the fuck? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Companions make and break an RPG, to me at least. A colourful cast of likeable characters are always a bonus, and is a very easy way to make any story more engaging. It's an extra spice that's added to a dish to add more flavour, you know? Like seriously, I've only played some of these whack-ass games because the chemistry in the party is so fun to watch, like the Backstreet Boys in Final Fantasy XV. They actually feel like actual friends going on a road trip, so the stupid stuff feels secondary, while you're just camping, driving, taking names, and eating ass. Wait a minute. And we cannot forget the waifu wars fought on every single platform you can think of. Because we can't just like a character, no. We just need the whole world to agree and like the same character I like, with no questions asked. Otherwise I will dox you and come to your home, you motherfucker. Moving on. Just to add to that, I think it's funny that Western developers try and say that their characters are less two-dimensional than Japanese archetypes of characters, but basically have the same tropes going on with their character. Like, we got tsunderes up the wazoo, bitches that just want to fuck you and call it a day, yanderes, and always something for the furries. Turn-based games, unlike action games, require you to press a button to play out an animation, where it can be attacking, shooting, healing, throwing, dancing, and other such erotic fascinations that perverse devs decide to put in. But these can take time, and sometimes, mostly towards an end game, there can be animations of ultimate attacks that can take up to 5 minutes of game time. Like dude, how much time is actually spent playing the game, and how much time is spent watching Knights of the Round play out? Okay, the other stuff I said are pretty tame to me. If a game has shit UI, crappy voice acting, takes 10 years of my life to load, and gameplay is just as long as when I take a dump, I'm fine. Yes, I'm fine with this, as long as there is something I find to like. But there is one thing I cannot stand. I hate more than anything in the world, and that is grinding in video games. Be it fucking World of Warcraft to the World of a Mermaid, I cannot stand wasting my time in a grindy ass video game. Like bro, I want to spend my time enjoying a game, not hitting some shitty ass enemy with no challenge just to increase my artificial stats so I can beat some health sponge of an enemy that one-shots me if I don't spend hours doing nothing but hit the A button. Like bro, this is the one and only reason I don't play hard modes of RPGs. Games like Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne on hard, or the Trail series on Nightmare. I can just grind and spend my life away leveling for some small satisfaction of beating a boss through a cool strategy. Or just get punished for obviously not grinding long enough. Spending hours in a dungeon killing the most optimal enemy for experience over and over and over and over and hating my life over and over and over and over and over and over. What was the point of this video again? I barely reviewed role-playing games, just spent some time ranting about turn-based games, and some other dumb shit. But honestly, I had fun. If one person who watches this, who's never touched an RPG before, better yet, a turn-based RPG, and was like, you know what, I'll give them a try, I'll be pretty satisfied. Yeah, that's all I wanted this video to be. I still think turn-based RPGs are a staple of the gaming world, and are definitely not going to go away anytime soon. It's not the juggernaut it was before in the late 90s to early 2000s with all these bangers, but are still showing so much new and unique mechanics through indie games like Undertale, Into the Breach, Chained Echoes, Disco Elysium. I mean, I can go on forever. Oh wait, This is supposed to be a role-playing game review, not a turn-based game review.
Stick to the script!
Get the fuck out of my sight before I demolish you.
So, role-playing games. Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty stupid.